So if you're exporting to the EU, you have probably spent the last few months trying to get your head around the what and the why of the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM. Well, today we're going to move past just the regulations and get into the real challenge. How do you actually build an operational response that can handle this? Okay, let's get into it.
Right out of the gate, we have to be absolutely crystal clear on what we're dealing with here. And this quote, man, it just says it all. This is not some feel-good report you file away. No, CBAM is a fundamental change that directly hits your bottom line and, really demands a full-on operational transformation.
So let's just shatter a really common misconception right now. You might be thinking, oh, it's just another ESG report, something for the sustainability team to handle. But the reality, it is so much more serious. This is a financial and trade mandate that impacts your entire company. We're talking about a level of seriousness that's right up there with your financial reporting or your customs compliance.
All right, to get a real handle on this, here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with the big wake-up call. Then we'll break down our solution into 3 key pillars. That's people, process, and technology. And we'll wrap up by showing you how to flip this whole challenge into a real competitive advantage.
First up, the wake-up call. Look, if you treat CBAM like it's just another report you have to file every so often, you are setting yourself up for a disaster. Seriously, it's a one-way ticket to inefficiency, huge audit risks, and costs that are just going to spiral as the rules get tighter and tighter. You need a real, integrated system for this.
And just to make sure we're all on the same page, let's remember what CBAM is at its core. It's a system that forces your company to calculate, verify, report, and this is the big one, pay for the carbon that's embedded in the products you sell into the EU. The financial stakes, they are very real, and they are not going away.
So the big question is, how do you build a response that's actually going to last? Well, the answer is a unified operating model. Think of it like an ecosystem, and it's built on 3 pillars that are totally interconnected. And that right there is the heart of what we're talking about today.
Okay, let's dig into that first pillar, people. This is the absolute foundation of the whole thing, and honestly, it's the part that gets underestimated the most. CBAM is a cross-functional beast. It can't just live in your sustainability department. It's impossible. Now, what's so cool about this is you can really see how the responsibility is shared. Yeah, the sustainability team might figure out the rules, but it's the finance team that owns the actual financial liability. Procurement, they're the ones chasing down data from suppliers. Supply chain has to track everything. And IT? Well, IT has to build the digital plumbing to connect it all. No single team can do this alone. This new reality is actually creating entirely new kinds of jobs. We're seeing these hybrid roles pop up, like a CBAM program manager who has to get both the regulations and project management, or a carbon data analyst who lives and breathes emissions data. Even old jobs like trade compliance are getting a major update to include carbon tariffs.
And that brings up a really important question for you to think about. Is your company actually set up for this? I mean, do you have people with these skills on your teams right now?
But look, this people strategy doesn't just stop at your own front door. It has to go deep into your supply chain. And here's the key takeaway. You absolutely have to start treating carbon data from your suppliers as a non-negotiable deliverable. It's just as important as a quality certification now.
All right, so you've got the right people. Now you need the right workflows to connect them. That brings us right to our second pillar, process. You can think of this as the engine that powers your compliance day in and day out. This lays out that core workflow just perfectly. It's a logical chain of events, right? You got to collect really specific data, then calculate emissions exactly the way the EU wants. Then you validate it all, you report it, and finally, you settle the bill. Every single one of these steps needs a rock-solid, repeatable process. And let me just give you a word of warning here. If you're trying to build these processes on a mountain of spreadsheets and manual work, you are just building a house of cards. It's going to fail. As CBAM expands and other countries launch their own versions, your processes have to be scalable. Rigidity is your absolute enemy. Which, of course, leads us perfectly to our third and final pillar, technology. Tech is the backbone. It's the connective tissue that holds your people and your processes together, making the whole system work. Think about it. To do this right, you need a dedicated tech stack. You need carbon data platforms to manage all that supplier info, integration tools to pull data from your other systems like your ERP, and you need powerful automation to run all those critical workflows we just talked about.
But here's where the really smart companies pull ahead of the pack. They're not just using technology to stay compliant, they're using it for strategy. We're talking predictive analytics to see future costs, AI that can automatically spot bad data from a supplier, or scenario modeling to see how changing a supplier will impact your carbon liability. This is where tech becomes a game changer.
And that brings us to the ultimate payoff. Because when you put it all together, the right people, the right processes, and the right technology, CBAM stops being just another cost you have to deal with. It actually becomes a source of strategic advantage.
But getting that advantage, well, it requires a pretty fundamental shift in your thinking. A real change in how you look at this entire regulation. Just look at this. The whole goal is to move from seeing CBAM as just some burden to seeing it as a competitive edge. To go from just reacting and reporting to being proactive and strategic. To completely transform what looks like a business cost into a powerful strategic asset.
So how do you do it? Well, all that rich, detailed data you're collecting for compliance, it's incredibly valuable. It gives you this amazing new visibility into your supply chain's carbon footprint. You can use it to make smarter sourcing choices, to justify investments in energy efficiency, or even to design more sustainable products from the ground up.
So, we'll leave you with this one last thought. CBAM isn't some far-off idea anymore. It is an operational reality right now. The only real question left is, how is your organization going to respond? Are you going to treat it like a threat you just have to manage? Or are you going to see it for what it is, an opportunity, just waiting to be seized?